Hey, welcome back to Fab Fun. We're driving to some headstones to see if the wet and forget that we sprayed them with actually worked. We had a lot of algae or black mold or whatever it was growing on some of the headstones of my ancestors and decided we were going to spray them. Well, we did that a few weeks ago. I think it's been about, what, 4 or 5 weeks?
Yeah.
Something like that. So hopefully they're in a little bit better shape and we can do some side-by-side comparisons. See if that's actually a pretty good plan for taking care of headstones. Stay tuned. Thanks for joining with me here on Fab Fun. This is going to be a lot different video than what I normally post. What I'm trying to do here is document both my ancestry and show people whether or not the wet and forget spray works on cleaning headstones. So if you're interested in doing any of this, it's something you can check out. I know there's another couple brands of things that are supposed to work pretty good as well. The first headstone that I get to is going to be Tom and Ruth Hearst. Ruth's maiden name was Mole, and Tom died in 1989. He was born in 1908. Ruth was born in 1908 as well and died in 2000. I was born in 1983, so I have some memories of Tom. I have a lot more memories of Grandma Ruth, as we called her, and they were all good memories. So definitely want to try to take care of their headstone, and hopefully somebody will return the favor for me when I'm long gone, just to remember what I did, what I lived for, and the choices that I made. And I do appreciate them. I'm not the kind of person that worships ancestry and obsesses over genealogies. I don't think that who your ancestors were give you any more value than any other person, but I do find it interesting, and I do appreciate the lives that they led and the choices that they made, because that's how I got here. Now what I do here, I'm using a very soft plastic bristle brush to kind of get some of the residue of the algae or mold or whatever it is off. I've already soaked it down with some wet and forget mixture or solution, and I do use a plastic scraper to get any thicker chunks off of the headstones and then go over and clean it up. Especially on the lettering, that brush really seems to help a lot when you've got a little bit of algae or mold growing in the lettering that has been etched into the stone. But after soaking it all down, it does soften it up. You can scrub it off. I go pretty light. This is my first time doing it. I have watched a few videos of people restoring veteran headstones, and I wanted to be careful not to damage anything, so I am being pretty light on the cleaning. Louis Commodore Hearst was born in 1884 to Perry and Susanna. He married Ada Blankenbaker, and Ada was born in 1888. Louis died in 1965, so I was not even close to ever meeting him, but my grandfather still has stories from when he was a kid doing things with Louis, going to market and picking up pigs in the trunk of a car, Just interesting things like that. Ada died in 1962, and this headstone is in relatively good shape. It's not that old. There wasn't a lot to clean up, but on the other side, where it just said Hearst, there was a little bit more to clean. The picture in the bottom right corner shows Lewis and his wife Ada with Virginia between them, and in the back row, Abram, my great-grandfather Tommy when he was just a kid, and Bruce. As you can see, the Wet and Forget did a pretty decent job at lifting a lot of that discoloration and getting rid of any growth. The next headstone I was cleaning is Perry Commodore Hearst and Susanna Hill, his wife. Perry was born in 1831, died in 1918. His wife Susanna Hill was born in 1844 and died in 1886. Susanna had several kids, and unfortunately she died of a postpartum hemorrhage 10 days after a stillbirth. Perry never remarried. Eventually moved into the new house his son Dennis built, not too far from where I live, and I believe he had had an injury. He was thrown from a horse or kicked by a horse or something, and he struggled getting around, so he kind of helped watch the kids instead of doing work in the fields, which is kind of a bummer if you think about it. I think I would rather be working outside, even doing some of the hard work, rather than changing 20 grandkids' dirty diapers. Here we've got a picture of Perry sitting in a chair in front of Dennis and my great-great-grandfather Lewis. I believe Dennis built this house on the Hearst farm close to where Perry's cabin was, and he built it with one of his other brothers, and from my understanding from the stories I've heard, like 2 weeks or 2 months after they finished building, the brother that helped him build it died. So interesting there. Let me zoom in. So that is Perry in the chair. Dennis is holding the bicycle behind him to the left, and my great-great-grandfather Lewis is standing directly behind Perry. I don't remember who else is in the picture, but you can tell it's back there probably around 1911, 1912, if I had to guess, somewhere in that time frame. When we take a close look at this headstone, you can tell it has a lot more growth on it. It is an older headstone, the oldest one that we've come to so far in the video, and has lots of growth on it, whether it's algae or mold or whatever it is. It's growing quite a bit. It's covering up a lot of the details of the headstone, which over time they start to wear away anyway, but it is covering a lot of it. It is concealing some of the detail. It has changed a lot of the color and just makes it look bad and not taken care of. But hopefully, we'll be able to make a big difference here. Here we found the grave of John Lionel Hearst, Perry's father. He was born in 1806, died in 1887. He was married to Lucretia Francis, born in 1811, died 1885. I'm going to steal a little bit from the research that Philip Riley, a distant relative, had done. I guess he interviewed his grandmother or great-grandmother, Pearl Hearst, and she had some stories that were passed down to her concerning John L. and Lucretia. Well, I'll just go ahead and read some of what Philip Riley's recorded here as a conversation and stories passed down by Pearl. I will edit a little bit of this out or just leave some of it out as I'm reading it. This is a history of the Hearst family as passed on to me by Pearl Hearst. She originally wrote it sometime in the 1980s. The history of the Hearst family was told to Pearl Hearst by Perry Commodore Hearst. I've edited it it to make the stories a bit more clear and corrected all the spelling and grammar mistakes. The first story I heard about the Hearst family was that they lived in Virginia on a bend of New River. There, John Hearst and his family of 9 boys and 1 girl lived along with his last wife, with her 9 boys and 1 girl by her former marriage. They all moved to Tennessee on the Mulligan Bend of a river. After some time, they moved again into Kentucky. They were not satisfied there, so they moved into Harrison County, Indiana, near Cordon, where the father bought or entered 18 sections of land. He gave each boy 1/4 section of land so they wouldn't move anymore. One of these boys was Henry Hallhurst, who first married Winnie LaHue. There was 1 child born from this union, John L. Hearst, who was born in Jefferson County, Kentucky. Hal married a second time, and there were 3 children born. John Lionel Hearst was married to Lucretia Hackley, who was raised by her uncle, Judge Slaughter. They were the parents of 11 children: Henry, Mira, Perry, Charles, Elizabeth, Mary Jane, Lucinda, Francis, Roxy, Robert, and William. Charles, Elizabeth, Mary Jane, and Lucinda died in childhood. Charles and Elizabeth died of membrance croix, whatever that is. Mary Jane and Lucinda died of the flux during an epidemic in Washington County, Indiana. John L. and Lucretia moved from Harrison County to Washington County with their children in the fall of 1844 to the town of Old Pekin. Now we're coming up on Mount Pleasant Church Cemetery. This is where Henry Hallhurst is buried. He lived from 1767 to 1835. He married Winifred, or Winnie LaHue. She was born 1775 and died in 1828. Henry was buried in this area. He died, I believe, of typhoid in between 2 cholera outbreaks. And at that time, when somebody died of a disease, if there was an outbreak, they sometimes were buried in mass graves. I don't know if that was the case here, or if they were just buried hastily and nobody had a lot of time or money for proper headstones, so maybe wooden crosses were erected, and they've since rotted away. But Henry was supposedly buried in the area where the cholera epidemic marker is. There's a little memorial there, and then there's another grave with an iron fence around it. Perry Commodore was about 3 or 4 years old and believed that he remembered about where Henry was buried, which would have been close to where the iron fence was later put in. Overall, I have to say that I am very happy with the Wet and Forget It. When it comes to the headstones, spraying them down when they look really rough, scrubbing them a little bit, and then spraying them again so that wet and forget it really sinks into the pores of the stone. When you come back 4 weeks, especially over the summer, don't know how it would work in the winter, it has really improved the look of these headstones, and hopefully they'll be legible for a much longer time after treating them like this. Guys, thanks for watching the video. I hope everybody enjoyed it and got something out of it. We do appreciate you viewing and hope to catch you next time on Fabbed Fun. Have a great day.